This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, October 21st, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Donald Trump has an interesting weekend in Pennsylvania as he and Kamala Harris make their final 2-week push before Election Day. I'm John Stolnis.
Elon Musk giving away big-time money ahead of November. I'm Clayton Neville.
It was a structural failure that led the dock gangway to collapse at Sapelo Island. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Boeing and the union representing striking machinists have negotiated a new contract proposal. I'm Julie Walker.
In a time when tech companies take the lion's share of business headlines, one decidedly non-tech company is grabbing its own share of the spotlight. I'm Peter Schacknow.
Cuba's electrical grid is offline. I'm Ed Donahue.
There's been a big recall of certain fire pits. I'm Shelley Adler.
All ahead on America in the Morning. With 2 weeks to go before Election Day, Donald Trump spent the day in Pennsylvania donning an apron to work at McDonald's. John Stolnis has that story.
Latrobe, Pennsylvania is the home to Hall of Fame golfer Arnold Palmer, and the former president, an avid golfer himself and friend of the late golfing great, spent the first 12 minutes of his rally paying tribute by talking about some of Palmer's best qualities, both mental and physical.
This is a guy that was all man. His man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, "Oh my God, that's unbelievable." I had to say it.
Trump also used profanity to describe Harris's job performance.
"We can't stand you. You're a vice president. The worst."
Yesterday, Trump traveled to suburban Philadelphia to spend a few minutes working the French fry station at a McDonald's.
Well, I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Donning a black apron with yellow stripes over his shirt and tie, Trump learned how to lower French fries into the fryer. Despite Trump's claims, the Harris campaign says she did work at a McDonald's in the summer of 1983 after her freshman year of college. McDonald's has ignored media members requesting information on this. Harris told MSNBC's Al Sharpton the Trump campaign continues to peddle lies.
There are all sorts of people who are going to throw a bunch of things out that will include mis and disinformation with the intention to dissuade certain people from voting. And that's not new.
Harris also visited 2 churches Sunday in the Atlanta area. Later today, Trump will visit areas of North Carolina damaged by Hurricane Helene and then attend a rally in Greenville. Harris will be rallying in 3 states, first in Chester County, Pennsylvania, then in Oakland County, Michigan, and finally in Waukesha County, Wisconsin, all battleground states, as the 2 candidates embark on their final 2-week push to Election Day. I'm John Stolnis.
A giveaway announced over the weekend by billionaire Elon Musk is drawing some controversy ahead of the November election. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Billionaire Elon Musk is on the campaign trail for former President Donald Trump just weeks out from the presidential election. And during a rally over the weekend in Pennsylvania, he had a big announcement.
I have a surprise for you, which is that we are going to be awarding $1 million to randomly to people who have signed the petition every day from now until the election.
$1 million given away every day. Anyone who signs a petition by Musk's America PAC will be eligible to win. That PAC has spent big money backing Trump and supports free speech and the right to bear arms.
One of the challenges we're having is well, how do we get people to know about this petition? Because the legacy media won't report on it. Not everyone's on X. So I figure, how do we get people to know about it? Well, this news, I think, is going to really fly. So
Musk drew and announced a winner at the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania rally over the weekend. Voters in that state got the chance to win the $1 million prize first, and over the next 2 weeks, petition signers from other battleground states will have a chance to win, those being Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson was asked about the move on CBS's Face the Nation.
It's incumbent upon all of us to look to trusted sources of information like your local election official.
Pennsylvania's governor and former Attorney General Josh Shapiro was on NBC's Meet the Press and said there are concerns with how Musk is spending money.
The dark money is flowing, not just into Pennsylvania, but apparently now into the pockets of Pennsylvanians. That is deeply concerning.
He acknowledged to Meet the Press that Musk has the right to express his views.
He's made it very, very clear that he supports Donald Trump. I don't, obviously we have a difference of opinion. I don't deny him that right. But when you start flowing this kind of money into politics, I think it raises serious questions that folks may want to take a look at.
Some critics of Musk calling the move illegal, but there's no indication from the billionaire that he plans to shut it down. I'm Clayton Neville.
Strikers' demands. Boeing holds out. That story when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back to the Monday edition of America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A storm that brought very heavy rain to parts of New Mexico this weekend will move into the Central Plains states today. This will produce some showers and thunderstorms through the northern parts of Texas into Oklahoma and then northward to Kansas, Nebraska, northwest Missouri, and western Iowa. A few of these storms, especially in central Kansas, could produce gusty winds and locally heavy rain. We'll have additional showers which will expand eastward through the rest of Iowa and Missouri tonight. For the rest of the Plains states into the Great Lakes, it will remain dry with sunshine and some clouds. Highs will be in the 70s and 80s, which will challenge some records. This is about 15 to 25 degrees above the historical average. In the northwest, another storm and associated cold front that also brought significant rain to portions of coastal Washington will continue eastward today with a few showers through Oregon into northern California and a steadier rain through eastern Washington into northern Idaho and Montana. This boundary will continue eastward tonight with showers along it through the rest of Montana into northern North Dakota. The rest of the west into the southwest will be dry today with most areas seeing plenty of sunshine. High pressure will continue to be a dominant feature across the eastern United States today into tonight. And after a chilly and even frosty start in some areas of the Northeast, there will be plenty of sunshine throughout the region, and temperatures will warm nicely, well above the historical average, with highs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This is about 10 to 20 degrees above average for the latter part of October. It will also be quite nice in the southeast with sunshine and highs in the 70s and 80s, though a few clouds and a shower or two may develop across eastern Florida, where there will also be some strong easterly winds. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The investigation continues in Georgia after what's been described as a catastrophic collapse of a ferry dock during a cultural festival that killed 7 people. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports, audio courtesy of WJCL.
We received an emergency call through McIntosh 911 regarding a gangway that had collapsed on the Sapelo Island visitor ferry dock. Multiple agencies responded to this incident, and once we got on scene, we realized that we had possibly 20 people or more that had went into the water.
Georgia authorities say it was a structural failure that led the dock gangway to collapse at Sapelo Island this past weekend.
Catastrophic failure of the gangway causing it to collapse.
Walter Rabin is the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. He says dozens of people were waiting on the dock.
It could have been upwards of 40 people on the gangway. 20 people that we believe went into the water. Understand this investigation is ongoing.
As ferries brought people to and from a cultural celebration of the Sapelo Island's Gullah Geechee community, descendants of black slaves.
Everybody was throwing life savings out to save the people.
Ed Grosvenor, a ferryboat senior mate who tried to help 2 of the 7 victims.
You could see they was already gone, but we still was doing CPR to see if we could bring them back.
Several people remain hospitalized. The historic island is about an hour south of Savannah, Georgia. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Major development in the labor dispute between union workers and plane maker Boeing. With the update, here's correspondent Julie Walker.
Boeing and the union representing striking machinists have negotiated a new contract proposal that would provide bigger pay raises and bonuses in a bid to end a costly walkout that has crippled production of airplanes for more than a month. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers said that it plans to hold a ratification vote Wednesday. The union says the deal would increase pay by 35% over 4 years, up from 30% that was offered last month. It also boosts upfront bonuses to $7,000 per worker instead of $6,000. However, the new offer does not restore a traditional pension plan. I'm Julie Walker.
In sports from the NFL, it was Russell Wilson's debut with the Pittsburgh Steelers as the black and gold defeated the New York Jets 35-17. A judge rules on Google. Meta sued for deception. Those stories when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Peter Schacknow.
You may never have heard of Lamb Weston, but it's likely you've eaten its French fries many times. The company supplies frozen potato products to restaurant operators like McDonald's and KFC and Taco Bell parent Yum Brands, as well as many supermarkets. Activist investor Jana Partners has built a 5% stake in the company, and according to the Wall Street Journal, it's seeking operational changes. And James Demmer, chief investment strategist at Main Street Research, says there's plenty of room for improvement.
The company, after years of being super successful, has been quite a mess. Operating deficiencies have been a problem. Believe it or not, raw potato procurement has been not done correctly, overpaying.
Jana is also pushing for a possible sale, helping Lamb Weston stock to a 10% gain Friday. Alongside Lamb Weston in the winners list, Netflix, which jumped 11%. The popular streaming service reported its most profitable quarter ever, as well as strong subscriber growth as it benefits from its crackdown on password sharing. But it may have trouble keeping up that growth as it shifts its emphasis to its ad-supported service, according to Rosenblatt securities analyst Barton Crockett.
It's a transitioning story in a market where there's a lot of, saturation. A lot of people have video entertainment, and a lot of the growth is really in the free stuff that Netflix doesn't offer.
A judge has granted Google's request to put a mandated overhaul of its Google Play Store on hold temporarily. Google had been ordered to overhaul the App Store to give consumers more choice over how they download apps and whose apps they use. Meanwhile, Meta Platforms will have to face a Massachusetts lawsuit charging that the company deployed features on its Instagram platform that are addictive to young users.
Peter, this is the time of year we get a lot of corporate earnings reports. And will they reveal that increased costs, for instance, are passed along to the consumer?
Well, this, of course, varies from industry to industry, but let's start with one that many American households know well, consumer products giant Procter & Gamble, the company behind numerous brands including Tide, Pampers, Gillette, and Mr. Clean. It's raised prices for many of its offerings, and CEO John Mueller told us at this point, buyers keep buying.
Can you maintain unit volume growth at higher prices, which you've had to move to as a result of commodity costs? So the resounding answer to that question is yes, we can grow unit volume at the current price levels and can do it very attractively.
A different take on consumer spending comes from American Express, which did report better than expected profit, but its sales forecast came in on the low end of its prior predictions, a possible indication that consumers could be starting to feel the pinch.
CNBC's Peter Schacknow in for Jessica Ettinger. Fire pit recall. That story when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Thanks for listening. The entire island nation of Cuba remains in the dark. It's been that way for 3 days after their power grid collapsed. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports this could not come at a worse time as Hurricane Oscar has made landfall.
One of the island's major power plants failed. The government is implementing emergency measures to cut power demand, including suspending classes, shutting down some state-owned workplaces, and canceling non-essential services. Prime Minister Manuel Marrero says it is important what I have just explained because there is the matrix of the opinion of the enemies that this is going to get worse, that this is not going to be solved. And with all the objectivity and transparency that it deserves, we are not in the bottom of the abyss. The outage is being blamed on increased demand from small and medium-sized companies and home air conditioners, as well as breakdowns in old thermoelectric plants. Throughout Cuba, candles and lanterns can be seen inside homes. I'm Ed Donahue.
There's an important recall of certain fire pits that have already injured 19 people. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
Nearly 90,000 tabletop fire pits are being recalled after flame shooting out of them resulted in a handful of serious burn injuries. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the Coulson-branded fire pits, which are designed to hold fires by burning liquid alcohol, pose a flame-jetting hazard. That could happen when a user is refilling the container and fire flashes back and propels the burning alcohol. So far, there have been 19 burn injuries. Most of the fire pits under recall were sold at major retailers like Amazon.com, Wayfair, Walmart, and Sharper Image. I'm Shelley Adler.
America in the Morning for Monday, October 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The Biden administration is urging both sides in the Gaza war into a ceasefire. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Documents detailing a potential Israeli strike on Iran leaked online.
The world responds to Ukraine's victory plan. I'm Clayton Neville.
Accusations of fraud in early voting. I'm Bob Brown. That story next.
Can ChatGPT really be your psychoanalyst? I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Smile 2 grins its way to #1 at the box office. I'm Kevin Carr.
I'm Archie Zaraletta with an entertainment update.
A contamination scare has prompted a recall of frozen waffle packages. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. Here's your national forecast with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
High pressure will continue to be a dominant feature in the eastern United States today into tonight. After a chilly and even frosty start for some in the northeast, there will be plenty of sunshine throughout the region, and temperatures will warm nicely well above the historical average with highs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This is about 10 to 20 degrees above average for the latter part of October. It will also be quite nice in the southeast with sunshine and highs in the 70s and 80s, though a few clouds and a shower or two may develop across eastern Florida, where they will also be experiencing some rough surf conditions from a strong, persistent easterly wind. Meanwhile, we have a storm that brought very heavy rain to parts of New Mexico this weekend, and that will move out into the Central Plains states today. This will produce some showers and thunderstorms through northern Texas into Oklahoma, and then northward to Kansas, Nebraska, northwest Missouri, and western Iowa. A few of the storms could be strong, producing gusty winds and locally heavy rain. Additional showers will expand eastward through the rest of Iowa and Missouri tonight. For the rest of the Plain states into the Great Lakes, it will remain dry with sunshine and some clouds. We'll have highs in the 70s and 80s, which will challenge some records. This is about 15 to 25 degrees above the historical average. And in the northwest, we have another storm and associated cold front that also brought significant rain to portions of coastal Washington this weekend, and then will continue eastward today with a few showers from Oregon into northern California and steadier rain through eastern Washington and northern Idaho. That's the weather across America. Milwaukee, Wisconsin will have a warm day with plenty of sunshine and a high near 80. Pendleton, Oregon will have clouds today with a shower or two and a high of 61. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Blasts were heard in southern Beirut overnight as Israeli forces continue to target Hezbollah terrorists, including in Lebanon's capital city. The retaliatory strikes come after nearly 200 rockets and artillery shells were fired from Lebanese territory into Israel, the majority stopped by the Israeli Iron Dome system. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the Biden administration hopes with the elimination of Hamas leader, there could be renewed efforts for a ceasefire and a hostage release deal in Gaza.
We think that there's a possibility of working for a ceasefire in Lebanon, and it's going to be harder in Gaza, but we agree that there has to be an outcome. What happens the day after?
Do you have a good understanding right now what Israel is going to do in response to Iran's October 1st attacks and when they will actually respond to Iran?
Yes and yes.
Can you tell us?
No.
The Biden administration is urging both sides in the Gaza war to parlay the killing of Hamas's top leader into a ceasefire and hostage release deal.
Hopefully countries in the region will step up. There quite possibly can be a part for the United States to play in that as well. What part that would be and what that would look like, Chris, we're going to have to work with our allies and partners to scope that out.
The president and Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin say Yahya Sinwar's death makes Israel and the world safer. But beyond that,
the death of the leader of Hamas represents a moment of justice. He had the blood of Americans and Israelis, Palestinians and Germans and so many others on his hands. I told the Prime Minister of Israel, let's also make this moment an opportunity to seek a path to peace, a better future in Gaza without Hamas.
White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says Sinwar was the biggest obstacle to that. It's too soon to know who might replace him.
And what that individual may be willing to pursue one way or the other.
For now, peace talks remain stalled.
I don't want to speculate, but I suspect that if and when we can get those talks back in place, the starting point will be where we left it. Where that goes, I just don't know. We're not in a position right now where serious negotiations are in the offing.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The United States is investigating the leak of a pair of highly classified intelligence documents describing Israel's preparations for a retaliatory strike on Iran. The documents appear to have been prepared by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, describing U.S. interpretations of Israeli Air Force and Navy planning based on satellite imagery. The documents somehow found their way into the Telegram messaging app. The New York Times reports the documents are authentic. House Speaker Mike Johnson told CNN that an investigation has started as to how the information was leaked. Israel has stated they plan to strike Iran following the Islamic Republic's missile barrage more than 2 weeks ago. America in the Morning continues. Mixed reaction to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's plan for victory against Russia in the ongoing war. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Zelensky announced his victory plan last week.
We did our homework. We did a lot of things, but we need some urgent air defense things.
He's also calling for money from Russian assets.
As soon as possible, we want to get some money for this, and of course helping our people with housing and etc. who lost their houses.
Specifically, Zelensky's plan includes a formal invitation for Ukraine to join NATO and permission to use Western long-range missiles to strike military targets in Russia. World leaders hesitant on the plan because there's yet to be general consensus on a global scale on those issues. In fact, there hasn't been for years. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda.
And again, we are hesitating. So nothing new, actually, in this plan, and I do not see any big issues put on the table.
The U.S. says it has and continues to speak with Ukraine about its victory plan. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller.
Every country has to make its own decisions based on their capabilities, based on their budgets, about what they can do. We have been gratified by the coalition of more than 50 countries we have put together to support Ukraine. We've seen a number of countries, not just inside Europe, but outside Europe, who have contributed to Ukraine's defense, and we're confident that that support will continue.
The specific American response to the plan has been non-committal, but the U.S. did recently issue $425 million in security help for Ukraine. I'm Clayton Neville.
An AP investigation finds that extremists who have U.S. military backgrounds are radicalizing at a faster rate than the general population. Experts say they also tend to be more violent. Correspondent Donna Warder explains.
Is this something that you want to have for, say, a small, well-armed militia? Yes. Absolutely.
Former National Guard member Chris Arthur says after leaving the service, he changed.
When I came home, I realized that I no longer knew who the good guys were and who the bad guys were.
Arthur would offer sessions at his farm in North Carolina on how to kidnap and attack public officials, use snipers and explosives, and create mass casualties. The number of ex-military who've been radicalized is extremely small, but University of Maryland terrorism expert Michael Jensen says there's something that separates them from extremists in the general population.
They tend to veer towards the extreme violence end of the spectrum.
Arthur was eventually arrested, and a jury convicted him on charges relating to teaching an FBI informant how to make bombs meant to kill federal law enforcement officers, as well as illegal weapons possession. He's been sentenced to 25 years in a federal prison. I'm Donna Warder.
Among the items we're covering next, whooping cough in kids, the new parental concern, and wait till you hear a new use for ChatGPT. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. 47 U.S. states and the District of Columbia offer early voting options. Bob Brown reports we're hearing about voter fraud in one important swing state, an allegation that many political leaders are refuting.
The election is a little over 2 weeks away, and already we're hearing allegations of election fraud in early voting in Georgia.
As the state's top election official, have you seen any evidence of fraud?
Margaret Brennan on Sunday's CBS's Face the Nation program asking Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger that question. This after Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene claiming fraud is taking place in Whitfield County, accusing Dominion voting machines of tampering with votes. However, election officials say there was just one cast of a ballot not reflecting the actual choice of one voter, which Raffensperger said led to the whole thing being blown out of proportion. So, the question again, is there election fraud?
No. And what happened in Whitfield County was the lady thought she had pressed a certain selection, and then when she printed out the ballot, she knew that. She saw that, and so then she made them aware of it, and it got corrected. And then it got blown out of proportion by people that like to use, Twitter and other forms of social media. But we're going to respond quickly to these sorts of things in 2024.
Every ballot cast in Georgia will be recorded on special security paper, which displays a seal. Meantime, more than 10 million Americans have cast early voting ballots since Saturday. I'm Bob Brown.
There were a pair of mass shootings targeting America's youth. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, one person's dead, 10 injured after gunfire erupted at a high school party. Police said multiple partygoers were shot. One died at the scene. Fort Wayne police are expected to release more details sometime today. In Georgia, a 19-year-old student was killed. Several others injured after a shooting on the campus of Albany State University. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said the shooting happened during homecoming weekend. Victims of the gunfire ranged from ages 13 to 20. So far, no arrests have been made. More kids are being treated for whooping cough. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
More than 18,000 cases of whooping cough have been reported so far. That's the most at this point of the year since 2014. The numbers indicate a return to levels before the coronavirus pandemic, when whooping cough and other contagious illnesses plummeted. The increase was expected. Experts say whooping cough peaks every 3 to 5 years. The CDC says kindergarten vaccination rates dipped last year, and vaccine exemptions are at an all-time high. Whooping cough usually starts out like a cold with the common symptoms before turning into a prolonged cough. It is treated with antibiotics. I'm Ed Donahue.
John Kinzel Sr., one of the last remaining Navajo code talkers who transmitted messages during World War II based on the tribe's native language, has died. Hundreds of Navajos were recruited by the Marines to serve as code talkers during the war, transmitting messages based on their then unwritten native language. They confounded Japanese military cryptologists during World War II as they participated in all military assaults the Marines led in the Pacific from 1942 to 1945, including Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. Marine John Kinzel Sr. was 107 years old. ChatGPT can perform all kinds of useful services for users that know how to ask it the right questions, but now users are asking things they would normally only ask of their therapists. Pull up a couch. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
Sam Altman, CEO of ChatGPT, has retweeted a post that has ChatGPT users really curious. Can ChatGPT be your therapist? According to an article on the site techradar.com, Altman retweeted with a comment that just said, "Love this," in a response to a tweet about users asking ChatGPT to do a little self-analysis. The original tweet from writer Tom Morgan simply asked ChatGPT, "From all of our interactions, what is the one thing you can tell me about myself that I may not know?" Amazingly enough, the comments coming back about this are fairly positive. Comments from some users after trying the prompt vary from "Crying, I really needed to hear this right now," to "Wow, I did it. ChatGPT gave me profound advice." Before AI analyzing yourself, you must be a subscriber for ChatGPT to pull up history about your prompts. Follow me on X for more tech news at Chuck Palm.
Monday Sports is in, and with a full slate, here's Robert Workman.
The 120th World Series matchup is all set, and for the 12th time, it will be the Yankees against the Dodgers. LA wrapped up the National League Championship Series with a 10-5 win over the New York Mets last night. Series MVP Tommy Edman put the Dodgers in front with a 2-run double in the first inning, then tacked on a 2-run dinger in the third.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you always dream about, but not necessarily something that I was expecting, but that's what we prepare for, you know? You prepare for those big moments, and fortunately, I was able to come through.
He drove in 11 runs in the 6 games. The Yankees won the ALCS on Saturday night. New York ousting Cleveland in 5 games. The World Series begins Friday at Dodger Stadium. The Chiefs are the last undefeated team in the NFL after topping the 49ers 28-18 in the Super Bowl rematch. Kareem Hunt rushed for 2 touchdowns. The Lions handed the Vikings their first loss, 31-29, on a last-minute field goal. Packers kicked a field goal as time ran out to edge the Texans. Commanders lost Jaden Daniels to an early rib injury, but still routed the Panthers. Daniels will be tested today. Bengals beat the Browns. Cleveland's Deshaun Watson likely out for the year with a torn Achilles. The Jaguars pounded the Patriots in the last of the London games. Sunday night, the Steelers grounded the Jets. Russell Wilson accounted for 3 TDs in his Pittsburgh debut. Wins for the Bills, Seahawks, Colts, Eagles, and Rams. Tonight, another Monday night doubleheader. The Ravens at the Buccaneers and the Chargers at the Cardinals. Oregon replaces Texas at the top of the college football polls this week. NHL, the Winnipeg Jets keep on winning. 6-3 over the Penguins to improve to 5-0 on the young season. Avalanche slam the Sharks. San Jose winless in 6 games so far, and the Kings down the Ducks. The NBA regular season tips off tomorrow. Last night, the New York Liberty won the WNBA title. That's Monday Sports.
Thank you, sir. Still to come, there may be some holes to fill if you're craving frozen waffles. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. Horror sequel, big winner at the box office this weekend. Kevin Carr has details.
It's officially scary movie season at the box office, also with some other options.
You okay? I keep seeing his face everywhere.
Smile 2 topped the weekend with $23 million, which was on par with the first film's opening. As a moderately low-budgeted sequel to a film that was originally meant for streaming, a new franchise is definitely upon us.
We must become more than we were programmed to be.
The Wild Robot held on to second place with $10 million, which pushed this family-friendly animated film past the century mark domestically.
Who is this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Yeah,
he's scaring me too.
In third place was last week's surprise winner, Terrifier 3, with $9.3 million. This ultra-violent, unrated slasher film has now grossed more than twice what the first two installments did combined.
You're that thing from my dream.
Really more nightmare material.
The Ghost with the most took fourth place with $5 million. With close to $300 million domestic, Beetlejuice is the highest-grossing film of the fall season.
There's a very distinct and real possibility that I am about to fall in love with you.
Rounding out the top 5 was the romance We Live in Time, coming out of a limited run with $4.2 million. And finally,
what's this? What's this? There's color everywhere.
Disney's re-release of The Nightmare Before Christmas managed to scare its way into the top 10 with $1.1 million for 10th place. I'm Kevin Carr.
With more in entertainment, here's correspondent Margie Zaraletta.
Feels like stardust.
Singer Zayn Malik has postponed his U.S. tour after the death of his former One Direction bandmate Liam Payne, who fell from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina last week. The tour was scheduled to begin this week.
Woke up this morning with a wine glass in my hand.
That is Peter Frampton and Keith Urban performing at Frampton's Rock Hall induction on Saturday in Cleveland. Audio courtesy of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation. Other inductees include Ozzy Osbourne, Mary J. Blige, A Tribe Called Quest, Cher, Foreigner, the Dave Matthews Band, and Kool in the Gang, whose singer James J.T. Taylor says the Rock Hall was never on their radar when they crafted their songs.
You don't plan to say, I'm writing this because I want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, it comes as your work precedes you.
I'm Margie Zaraletta.
They're always great for breakfast, but not if they're on an urgent recall list. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports on serious troubles with frozen waffles.
Treehouse Foods has announced a voluntary recall after discovering possible Listeria bacteria contamination during routine testing of its waffle products. The waffles are sold at leading retailers with brand names like Kodiak Cakes and Simple Truth, and include Walmart's Great Value brand, Target's Good and Gather, and multiple store names like Food Lion, Kroger, Publix, and others. There are many varieties included in the recall. You can check treehousefoods.com for more information. There are no reports of any illnesses. I'm Jackie Quinn.
America in the Morning for Monday, October 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.